Hello Stalkers. We will have to wait for spring after all. The first news about patch 1.9 has appeared. You will be in shock. They will fix bugs in the patch. Yes, it's not funny anymore. The details are so insignificant that fans in the GSC Discord asking the community manager if we can get more substantial details about the update. To which the answer followed. We always start small. This might slow down as we are considering the possibility of sharing key details in one place a little later. We will see. We already discussed in the previous video that tentatively the update might come out after March 19th, and its testing will begin next week. Therefore, in the most likely scenario, we will find out fresh details about the update only in 2 weeks. If you are already eager to know what to expect in future updates right now, then I definitely recommend this video for viewing. In this video, we will analyze 2 new and very interesting interviews with GSC developers, or rather, even 2 whole lectures about the creation of the world of Stalker 2, which hide details of future updates, DLC, and simply quite interesting information. Over the past 24 hours, several unusual updates have occurred on SteamDB. They indicate that there is movement on the game and probably the developers are preparing for testing. There are chances, at least I still have hope left, to get an update roadmap for 2026. There is 1 day left until the end of the first quarter. Come on GSC, don't let us down, and we are moving on to a ton of interesting information. New mods. Tomorrow is spring, which means it is time to bring the zone into a look appropriate for the season. Spring-type vegetation can be obtained by installing a couple of mods. Better Grass by Greshny and Greening by User Sky. Also recommended for installation is the Oblivion Lost mod by Pankertan. Plus, you can add Early Spring to the mix with the Dead Trees mod by Pankertan. The mod removes foliage from bushes and trees, while leaving the grass in place. You can observe the result yourselves. A demo version of the PDA hacking feature for the future global mod point of no return has been released. Skiff will have the opportunity to hack other people's PDAs to get money or information using special devices that can be found. The hacking itself takes place as a minigame. In one version you will have to dodge errors as a bug and reach the end. In the second variant you will have to catch all the codes in time. There are several rights to make a mistake. Anyone who wants can test it and leave feedback. How to test. Another author of popular modifications for Stalker 2, Kind's Peace, teased fishing on his X.com. Such a small mod teaser, a kind of survival mod in the zone, which will include fishing. The link to the mods and the installation guide will be in the description. The founder of GSC Game World and creator of the legendary Stalker and Cossack series, Sergei Grigorovich, is returning to game dev with a new game. The Interfax publication published a short interview with Sergei Grigorovich, where he announced his new sci-fi project called Stranger Bermuda SOS. Sergei himself describes it like this: "We are creating not just a game, but an immersive leap. Stranger will absorb all the best that we have accumulated over more than 33 years of work by various teams of the company, but at the same time it will offer fans technologies and an approach that the industry has not yet seen. What do we know at the moment? Stranger will transport us to a harsh world after a global nuclear catastrophe. They promise to combine the classic approach of past hits with breakthrough technological solutions, especially in the field of artificial intelligence." And also, as if in passing, Grigorovich mentioned that he is developing some kind of cryptocurrency project in parallel. Zero details so far, but it sounds strange to say the least. As I understand it, essentially, we have a kind of Stalker 3 in front of us. In case anyone forgot, Sergei Grigorovich is no longer the owner of GSC Game World and is in no way connected with the current development of Stalker 2. He did not retain the rights to the franchise. Therefore, to make a new game in a favorite setting, he will have to dodge hard and bypass copyrights. Hence these painfully familiar dots in the title. I am sure everything will be built on the most powerful fan service. We will see slightly changed mutants, our own analogues of anomalies and artifacts, some conditional Sidorovich and the 100 Rads bar. Of course, it is very early to draw final conclusions for now. We need to wait for new info and confirmations directly from Grigorovich. What is the name of his new studio, who joined the team, Is GSC taking part? And will we see an official teaser in the near future? We are waiting for more detailed specifics. In the meantime, go down to the comments and write if you believe in the success of Stranger. Creating the world of Stalker 2. Lectures on creating the world and navigation in it, from two GSC developers, led level designer Artem Nor and game designer Yegor Ostapenko. Artem joined the team in 2020 and led the Great Swamps region. Initially, the swamps and Zayton were combined into one location, but later they were divided into two separate regions. Artem continued working on the swamps and Zayton right up to the release itself, and then took on the completion of the Lesser Zone region. Yegor joined GSC at the end of 2021, worked on the Red Forest region, made navigation and markers for this region. They told and confirmed a lot of interesting information. For example, stashes in Stalker 2 are divided into three types: simple, medium, and rare. Initially, they planned to divide stashes into 4 classes. Besides the contents, they were supposed to differ by a different icon color on the PDA map, and as a result, the higher the class was, the harder it was to get to the stash. At release, the system was simplified, because the developers faced a rather logical problem: there is a pile of stashes, but little rare loot. After which a decision was made to significantly reduce the rare stashes in quantity. For example, for 5 regular stashes there was somewhere around 2 medium and 1 rare, and the stash icon color was made just white, but after updates they made them purple, like in Shadow of Chernobyl. In one of the lectures, lines related to the main storyline quests of the Mystery of Lemansk DLC were shown. The 5th quest, the details of which are unknown, and the 10th quest, the details of which are already known. All regions have their own rank, which affects anomalies, loot, and mutants. Each region has its own unique atmosphere, which means its own weather system as well. It visually distinguishes one region from another, sometimes adding simply incredible drama to what is happening at the right moments. It turned out that the Dead Valley is technically a linear region separate from the generators. I assumed that the Dead Valley could expand with the release of the DLC and the CNPP region, but the CNPP map showed up without the Dead Valley. You can see that the developers are working on the region, and if you look closely, you can see a piece of the Iron Forest. At least the Dead Valley is not visible right now. Therefore, for now, the statement that the Dead Valley will be expanded is just an unfounded theory. The developers continue to insist that the map size corresponds to 64 square kilometers. In reality, this is not true. GSC states, "We have a seamless open world with an area of more than 60 square kilometers." This statement is still hanging in the FAQ on their official website. The entire map in the PDA is a large render square that includes all locations, objects, trees, everything that the level designers made. If you round off this square, you get roughly 8 by 8 kilometers, which in theory gives those exact 64 squares. But huge chunks of this space are stupidly inaccessible for exploration. Here is how the scale was calculated. I measured the distance between my character and the quest target, which was 2 kilometers away from me. It came out to 640 pixels, which means 1 kilometer equals 320 pixels. Relying on this scale, it turned out that the map does not even come close to 64 squares. And although there is a decent amount of underground locations in the game, I doubt that with them the total map size reaches more than 60 square kilometers. Perhaps, after a couple of free DLC and 2 paid ones, the game map will reach 50 square kilometers, but for now 64 square kilometers remains a myth, exactly like A-Life 2.0. Many complained at release about the absence of a classic minimap. It turns out, they were developing it, but in the end, they axed it for the sake of a horizontal compass. The developers decided that the minimap takes up too much space on the screen and ruins immersion. Why did we abandon the minimap? As you can see, the minimap is very large. It occupies a fairly significant part of the screen. Our goal has always been to make a game so that it feels realistic, so that you can immerse yourself in it. On the other hand, we are being closely watched. Developers actively use player movement heat maps, using your statistics that you can send to them. They look at where we walk most often, and where we never go at all. And also, where we die most often, to balance the difficulty in future patches and place new anomalies right on our favorite trails. So stay vigilant after new updates. Immersive PDA. GSC game designer Yegor Ostapenko shared exclusive information. One of the features of Stalker 2 was supposed to be a full-fledged 3D PDA. Unfortunately, they simply did not have time to finish it by release. But Yegor directly hinted that this immersive device might debut in future game updates. At the same time, some PDA upgrade mechanics were already found in the localization files of patch 1.5.3. It is still unclear how exactly this will work. The possibility remains that we are only talking about the ability to view weapon and armor upgrades, as well as the status of installed modules and attachments. What exactly the developers meant, time will tell. The true pain of the developers. And now for some inside info about the true pain of the developers. Just imagine. First they completely built the map, and then they were forced to redo it almost from scratch when they finished working on the game mechanics. For the sake of immersion, GSC deliberately abandoned invisible walls. The player is restricted by radiation, snipers, fences, and steep slopes. But due to a shortage of specialists and constant storyline edits, the map was recut over and over again. Testers constantly found pieces of old locations in new places. Moreover, the complex map geometry constantly broke the RE, NPC, and players stupidly got stuck when climbing over obstacles. And also, the poor level designers manually, a whole 2 times, replaced absolutely all vehicles across the entire zone. It got to the point that at some moment they simply broke through the maximum object limit in Unreal Engine. Because of this, they had to urgently cut the number of transparent objects on the map. But what drank the developers' blood the most were emissions. Processing them took the lion's share of time and effort among all the systems in the game. It turns out, stalkers were supposed to choose covers depending on the direction of the wave from the generator side. This ambitious mechanic was planned even for the cancelled Stalker 2 model of 2011. The map often had to be supplemented with covers and heavily adapted for emissions so that the player and NPC could easily find a cover spot during an emission. The developers initially added a multitude of empty train cars around the map so that NPC could survive emissions in them. Then they tried to come up with other types of covers for variety. However, later this escalated into a problem where the player entered such places expecting to find something, but they were empty, which would disappoint the player. NPC have a large number of fake covers from emissions, which might hint at the fact that A-Life 2.0 really did exist.